The human effort behind operating the 5 biggest oil rigs in the world. Working offshore might entail arduous work hours, confined living quarters, and extended absences from home for periods of several weeks to several months at a time. It could take some time to get used to working days that are more than 13 hours long, but the fact that you have weeks off to spend with your family, and that the compensation is good are both positive aspects of this sometimes risky but always interesting career. Today, we are going to take a look at what it's like to work on an oil rig or platform, including the commute to get there, the long hours, and the challenges of maintaining safety out in the middle of the ocean. A brief introduction to offshore oil rigs. Investopedia reports that the average cost of an offshore rig is $650 million. This figure is 15-20 times more than the cost of a land-based rig. Because there is more oil beneath the water than there is on land, energy corporations create enormous cities like buildings on the ocean floor that are equipped with drills that can penetrate the seabed hundreds or thousands of feet below. The operation of offshore installations requires a sizable crew, which might consist of up to 200 individuals. Because there are so many people living offshore, there is likely to be a significant amount of aviation activity. More than 100 helicopters take off every day from the busiest heliport in the world, which is located in Aberdeen, Scotland. These helicopters transport people to the North Sea, which is a popular location for offshore drilling. If there are approximately 1,500 offshore rigs throughout the world, as NES Fircroft reports, then you can only imagine the number of helicopters and offshore supply vessels that are required to maintain and operate them. Offshore supply vessels deliver supplies, both for the facility and for the personnel, delivering everything from enormous drilling components to meals and cleaning supplies. In general, helicopters are used to transfer people, whereas offshore supply vessels deliver goods. At the same time that an offshore supply vessel is leaving an oil platform, a helicopter lands there. The picture was taken from the documentary Humans with Energy. Even though there are crew vessels, a helicopter is typically the most efficient mode of transportation to get to offshore facilities, because they are located on the open ocean and are hundreds of miles away from land. The fact that helicopters are not affected by waves and other aspects of the sea is particularly useful in regions with particularly severe seas. In either case, you won't waste an hour of your trip across the ocean sitting in traffic since there is none. The shifts that workers put in reflect the fact that rigs and platforms are operational around the clock, 365 days a year. The majority of workers are required to spend at least 2 consecutive weeks working offshore before receiving an equal amount of time off. Even though this can be lengthier, some tours during COVID were extended to a total of 6 weeks. It is far more challenging to switch shifts when you are required to quarantine for a week before reporting to work, which is one of the reasons why the tours have been prolonged. The average day lasts 12 hours, but when you factor in the time needed for handing off responsibilities and attending meetings, the typical day lasts closer to 13 hours. Workers that are stationed offshore typically put through 24 hours of labor without taking a break until they return home. There are other occasions when shifts are 12 hours, but there are also times when shifts go from 6, 00, 18, 00 and 18, 006, 00. It depends on your profession, but one of the more peculiar aspects of offshore drilling is the possibility that you will be kept busy every day for several days in a row. You could even choose to put in extra hours or even wait in a holding pattern for several weeks to do your bit. This is a problem that engineers in particular face, and while one tour can be relatively straightforward, the next might be packed with work. Workers have the option of doing things like reading, going to the gym, watching movies, or playing video games during the few hours when they are not scheduled to work. If the crew has an excessive amount of free time, you run the risk of getting involved in a friendly prank war as well, as suggested by Steph Delmont over at Medium. The internet may be slow depending on the vessel. It will not be fast enough to download large files or stream high-definition video, but it will be fast enough to send and receive emails, browse the internet, and possibly engage in video chats with friends and family. At least now we have the internet. In the good old days, workers were only allowed 1 call per week, and each call was a maximum of 6 minutes long. The quality of the food is one of the advantages of living offshore. The establishment receives regular shipments of food, which results in the availability of fresh vegetables, fruit, and meat, as well as cooks to prepare it all. The breakfast that consisted of eggs, biscuits, gravy, ham, bacon, and pancakes will, of course, be completely consumed within the course of the 13 hours that are spent working. Those who are ready to start a shift or who have just finished a shift have the opportunity to get some food that has been freshly prepared, because meals are provided 4 times every day. It is customary for there to be a complete ban on the consumption of alcoholic beverages and illegal narcotics, and smoking is restricted to certain areas only. Jobs offshore offer excellent compensation, particularly for engineers who possess specific skill sets. Workers typically receive higher pay when working offshore due to the long hours, extended periods away from home, and increased risk to their lives. In most cases, there are anything from 1 to 4 persons housed in each cabin, and the bathrooms are shared among the many cabins. It's something you have to get accustomed to, but it may be challenging when multiple people are trying to use the same shower at the same time, especially if 4 or more people are getting up and moving around at the same hour before their shift. The workers don't have to do any housework because their laundry is done for them, and they don't have to cook because chefs prepare their meals 4 times a day. When you work offshore, you need to have a lot of training so that you know how to stay safe around heavy machinery, combustible materials, and other important safety lessons that you need to know to work in a small steel city that is 100 feet over the middle of the ocean. Everyone is required to have their protective equipment, also known as PPE. According to Medium, personal protective equipment, PPE, consists of coveralls, steel-toed boots, safety glasses, impact gloves, hearing protection, and a hard hat. It is also necessary to pay close attention to your surroundings. You must remain vigilant at all times because this is one of the most hazardous types of work. Workers keep themselves safe in part by participating in safety drills, which often take place at either 9 in the morning or 9 in the evening. These drills keep everyone on their toes and ready for any unexpected situations that may arise. Important safety reminders include the following. Never take a step backward, keep your eyes focused ahead of you at all times, and communicate immediately if you notice anything that doesn't appear to be in its proper place. Maintenance is ongoing at offshore facilities, and there may be parts of the construction or issues that haven't been discovered by anyone just yet. Everyone is accountable for keeping safety at the forefront of their minds at all times. You can get a terrific look at what are the human efforts on an offshore rig thanks to a film produced by BBC News that was shot in 360 degrees and allows you to move the camera around. We strongly suggest you take a look at it down below. There's also a fantastic piece written by Steph Delmont on Medium titled Living on an Oil Rig, which walks you through a whole day of labor on an oil rig, including transport, preparation, and actual work. What do you think about this video? Do let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from us again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go.